But like many of us, she's cross-disciplinary. She started as a marine archaeologist. So with all our speakers, there's much more bio in the SCED on the online program, but I would just want to leave it at that and turn it over to Sarah.
In the world of museums that I'm from, traditional boundaries are being thrown wide open. New media technologies are enabling us to expand our collecting policies, to refresh our curatorial visions, and importantly, renew our relationships with audiences. As the CEO of Intel, Brian Krasnick, said last year, we're in the midst of a transformation from a world of screens and devices to a world of immersive experiences. And my talk today is about a series of experimental interfaces for museums that transform cultural heritage data, allowing audiences to rediscover and reinvent ancient cities, museological collections, and cultural practices. Advanced imaging techniques are essential if we are going to be able to create futures for the past. As we know, politically motivated destruction of heritage has been with us for thousands of years. But climate change catastrophes are increasing at alarming rates. Natural disasters wreak havoc, and mass tourism threatens to engulf those places that we hold most dear. We're very fortunate that we can create exceptionally high-resolution images of the world. Laser scanning, for example, collects billions of points to represent places such as these heads at Mount Rushmore. We can capture precious objects in 3D and peer inside to see what we could not see before. And we can capture artworks at such high resolution that when we zoom in, we can see more than the naked eye can see. But these new imaging technologies alone are not enough to bring objects and places to life in ways that are profound and unforgettable. And it's about creating these narratives of engagement that will come to define the museum of the future. We begin our journey today in the Dongguan Caves. Sorry about that. In the Dongguan Caves of the Gobi Desert, the nexus of the Silk Road. There are 492 caves carved into this escarpment. Inside, 45,000 square meters of mural paintings and over 2,500 stucco statues. They are in size and breadth like nothing else in the Chinese Buddhist world. These caves are under serious threat from microclimate change and mass tourism. There's a significant preservation effort underway. 60 full-time photographers are working at Dongguan. It takes them 3 months to photograph and stitch together a single cave. We took the data set and the laser scan from cave 220 to create Pure Land inside the Magao grottos at Dongguan. It's staged in a 360-degree 3D screen, which is 10 meters across, that's 30 feet, and 4 meters high, and it allows about 30 people at any time a one-to-one scale experience of this cave. Audio, please. So it starts with a cave browser and of significant caves at Dongguan. We enter cave 220, simulating what it's like to be there now. If you visit Dongguan, you're with a guide, 60 people. He's using an LED torch, and you can see very little of the mural paintings. Of course, the digital cave is extremely powerful, and we created a high-resolution magnifying glass, both for visitors and for scholars, that allow them to examine these murals in great detail. This is the Sutra of the Medicine Buddhas. We recolored the mural paintings according to the pigment studies of the Dongguan Academy to give an impression of what the caves would have originally looked like. And many of the elements in the painting are also modeled in 3D. The 32 musicians that appear here have all their instruments modeled. And they play music for 4 dancers that are in the painting. We had Beijing Academy dancers in our blue screen studio dancing the Dongguan dance, and we installed that into the 3D world. So Cave 220 is permanently closed to the public, and this digital recreation has allowed over 400,000 people to visit this cave virtually. When it traveled to the Smithsonian, the Washington Post critic Philip Kennicott said, "At last we have a virtual reality system worthy of inclusion in a museum devoted to the real stuff of art." And perhaps unlike Tim's thesis and Walter Benjamin's thesis, I believe that with increasingly high-resolution data sets, we're entering an era when we can create powerful and auratic experiences of the digital, which was traditionally the preserve of the real. We're connecting 2 of our AV systems together to teach distributed Silk Road studies in a large-scale grant over the next 3 years in immersive teaching and learning, bringing classes and cultures together in real time over internet to backbone. We printed the wireframe of the laser scan from this cave on the walls of an exhibition booth at 1:1 scale. This allows visitors with a window on the world to navigate and walk inside the cave. These are very high-resolution textures that are appearing on the tablet. 16 infrared cameras track it. This work is significant for 3 qualities that it possesses. It's a highly social experience, and social experiences are at the core of the museum, and we need to find ways in which to harness that for the museum and their visitors. It's a multi-generational interface. Young children, middle-aged ladies, a grandmother and grandchild. The grandmother abandons the grandchild and takes off with the screen. And it's also, for a cave that's permanently closed to the public, the perfect place for virtual tourism. We've got a permanent installation of this experience installed late last year in Henquin in southern China. It's staged on a 220-degree screen, and in this work, visitors are able to use a tablet to activate all the elements in the cave. And our 4th version of the same data set really takes advantage of the democratization of VR and the head-mounted display. Pure Land Unwired has the computer in a backpack, and the visitor is tracked so that you can, once again, walk at 1:1 scale inside the real cave in real time. And I'm very pleased to say that this work is installed here, and the developer, Professor Stefan Greuter, is also here to answer any of your questions, and you'll recognize him because he's got the goggles on in that picture. Moving from ancient China to historic India, Play Sampi is an artwork that was commissioned for France India Year in 2006 and has subsequently toured the world. Hampi is a monumental World Heritage Precinct and a vibrant center for contemporary pilgrimage. And this artwork recombines 25 square kilometers of this extraordinary terrain in a 3D panoramic imaginary. It uses a rare stereoscopic film camera which captures left and right eye on film, which is drum scanned for projection. We do ambisonic sound recordings for a 3D architecture of sound, motion capture for animation. The work is staged in a 360-degree screen that has a motorized platform at the middle, allowing you to rotate your field of view in 360 degrees. About 25 people can be in this space at any one time, and a member of the public takes the collected group on a serendipitous journey of discovery to the many wonderful locations throughout Hampi. If you speak into a microphone, you release Sanskrit text into the world that comes from chapter 13 and 37 of the Ramayana, to do with the gathering of the monkeys at Kishkinder. And Hampi is said to be Kishkinder, the home of the monkeys. So it's of great mythological significance. If you go inside these cylinders, some of them are augmented with computer graphics of Hindu gods and music by Dr. L. Subramaniam, which you may be able to hear. Could be a bit louder. This work's now permanently installed in a new museum which we built about 20 kilometers from the site of Hampi. So if you're visiting Karnataka, please do enjoy that. The second destination in India is a work that we're doing for the Prince of Wales Museum in Mumbai. Look up Bombay. Consists of 160 gigapixel images which we shot recently. The first one was Terminal 3. This is India Gate, the Baujilad Museum. And these are going to be projected up into the 60-foot dome of the museum building. It's a wonderful Indian Saracenic building. We have an algorithmic application which morphs between images. And 3 floors below, there's a small mirror. So it acts as a tunnel in time and space. And it allows visitors to the museum to rediscover the city with fresh eyes. Moving from landscapes to objects, this is a section of the icon item from the Hong Kong Maritime Museum. It tells of the bloody encounters between government forces and pirates in the late 1800s in the South China Sea. We scanned this 18-meter scroll painting at 1,200 DPI, and we staged this work in another 360-degree screen. It has 55 animated events of this somewhat gruesome story, which is successfully resolved. The interactive CMYS open and several vignettes of this narrative play out across the scroll's surface. A very 2D style of animation in the style of the painting, a rather bloody battle. And the pirates were successfully subdued, of course. Moving from a single object to many objects, sorry about this double clicking. We know at most major museums there's only a fraction of a collection on display. At the British Museum, it's 0.4%. At the museum I work for, it's 0.8%. So we created this data browser for Museum Victoria, which is a permanent installation in a 360 3D system. It's an export from the content management system of 100,000 of their objects. It's distributed across 18 themes: natural sciences, social history, and indigenous material. Each thematic collection is distributed by time, and as you change the range, you increase and decrease the granularity. You can zoom into the images. It creates a Wordle of the content management description, so it's ultimately extensible in that sense. And you can access the original record. What's important about it, because there are 250 fields of metadata in the content management system, you can connect different thematic collections very easily, and it allows visitors to become their own curator of the collection, traversing different themes. The soundscape is very rich, and it's drawn from all the audio materials that we have in our collection. This is also the same museum. It's 1,000 stuffed animals with no labels, and we've developed these panoramic navigators that allow you to pan around in the room, and when you see the object of choice, you just touch on the screen It'll give you a 3D object movie of that animal and then movies of the creatures in the wild. So here we have a puma. You can also download all of this to your phone. Intangible heritage probably represents the most complex of all archival forms, and we've been doing a range of experiments in this area. This is Saburo Tashigawa, a Japanese choreographer. And we filmed he and his principal dancer on a stage from 6 points of view with stereo cameras. And it's played back in a system that allows visitors to walk around and look in. It's a rear projected stereo system. The work is played back at 1-to-1 scale, and because of the stereo nature of it, you can use negative and positive parallax so that the limbs of the dancers come in and out of the screen. You walk around and you have that complete view of the dancers. And here you see an installation shot. Not easy to film these things in the dark, in stereo. We're just embarked on a very large-scale project to capture all the South Chinese Kung Fu lineages, so in the tradition of Bruce Lee. Hong Kong is really a repository for all these grandmasters who were persecuted in China and moved to Hong Kong. It's a series of very fast styles, so capturing at about 140 frames a second. And just as the beginning of this project, we're looking at, I guess, motion over time, signatures of particular movements, and replacing traditional Labo notation or the Tai Chi manuals and Kung Fu manuals. This is the annotation of the left hand to the right foot, the left, and etc., and the dantian point. And our most ambitious project at the moment is collecting 10 of our machines together with 18 pieces of content. And this will tour the world as a blockbuster show. And we hope it will change the nature of museum-going experience forever. It will premiere at Museum Victoria in 2016, and then hopefully it's coming to your town. And by way of conclusion, this work is part of that show. It's a 12-meter full dome at 4K. It has a mirror on the floor so that you're suspended between the two image hemispheres. It's a work together with the National Museum of Australia and depicts an Aboriginal songline, which is really a map through the western deserts of Australia. As this summit really brings home to us, new media technologies are really allowing us exceptional opportunities to create the museum of the future in the age of experience. And as an archaeologist and an artist and a designer, I feel totally enabled to continue to build this vision. Thank you.